Alright, I've been teasing this idea for a while now. I've been bringing it up for about 2 months as of starting to make the script on August 6th, 2021. It's an idea that I've wanted to make a Splatoon theory on for a very long time, and it's the idea of Inklings in space, and it's been a discussion that has never gone on for a very long time in the Splatoon community, to my knowledge. But today, we're going to break down everything we know about Inklings in space and just how strong their out-of-this-world presence is. And spoiler alert, there's going to be a nice chunk of math in this one. So before we actually get into the biggest piece of information to break down about the Inkling space presence, I want to talk about the concept of space and how it's been used before. And when I say before, I mean before Nintendo even agreed that they wanted to use Inklings as the main characters of Splatoon. So here we have some concept art of a person in a spacesuit. This is important for what we're about to get into because it shows us how long space has been on the devs' minds and how much they've wanted to explore this. But now we've got pretext out of the way, so let's get into the main part of this video. So this image here, we've got a very clear shot of the moon, and on the moon we can see what appears to be a little itty bitty squid icon. Well, obviously it's not actually itty bitty. If the squid icon is that visible all the way from Megapolis Square, it's gotta be pretty big. The tough question to answer though is how big is it? So this is where everyone's least favorite subject comes in. Math. So the moon is 238,900 miles away from Earth, or for my non-American viewers, that comes into around 384,400 kilometers. So because the moon has very distinct crater shapes and the Splatoon devs took the time to try to define them as accurately as possible, we can actually get a rough estimate as to where the squid is in comparison to the actual moon. And if we know what crater the squid is in, then it'll be easy to find out how big the squid is. So if we compare these two pictures here, we can see the squid ends up being right around here. Alright, so we've got the place now, but how large is this crater exactly? Well, if I'm correct in the location, then this squid is located in the place called the Sea of Fertility. Names for craters on the moon are usually grouped in things that we call bodies of water, which, look at these images, they're pretty damn similar. This crater is around 520 miles or 840 kilometers. So after figuring out just where the squid is, I hit a little bit of a roadblock. I am nowhere near good enough at math to try to calculate how big the squid is on just what we know about the Sea of Fertility. So we're going to do something a little sloppy and inaccurate, but nonetheless something that will still get us to where we need to be in determining how advanced Inkling space exploration is. And what I mean by this is I'm going to take a few of these little squids and get as many of them as close as possible so I can find the diameter to see how long these little squids are. So we got about 6 squids here to cross the diameter. So that gives us the simple equation of 520 divided by 6, which is equal to around 86.66 miles or 139.47 kilometers. So what does this mean? The Inklings are well established in the solar system, or at least the moon. But ask yourselves, well, if the Inklings are capable of making an almost 87-mile across monument to their people, then what else are they doing in space? I mean, like, compared to some of the other tech that some of the other species have, this isn't really totally off the table. Mind control is a pretty common thing in the Splatoon universe. Freaking mind control. The biggest conspiracy in US history, Project MKUltra, rocked so many people because we found out the government was trying to achieve mind control. But when mind control comes up in Splatoon, it's a common everyday thing for them. I mean, for heaven's sake, Callie has a pair of hypno shades in her purse that she just carries around daily. I know a lot of what we see in-game looks pretty similar to what we have for technology now, like phones and cars being some examples that come to the top of my head, but this is also the society that has giant squids that fight wars for them, a special type of ink and music that can undo freaking mind control, weapons and clothing that seem to be able to shrink and grow on demand, and for the love of God, they have basically achieved resurrection with their respawn pads. Oh yeah, and they just casually use teleportation and levitation. Inkling society is very visibly advanced, we just tend to overlook it all the time. So is it too far-fetched to say that the Inklings have a very strong self-sufficient colony on the moon? And why stop there? If they have a massive structure dedicated to themselves on the moon, who's to say they haven't set up other colonies in semi-hospital celestial bodies like Mars or Enceladus? The Inklings are very clearly much more technologically advanced than we give them credit for, but enough about that. So they've got this giant base, and even if the squid is just a monument and not a real base, then this giant squid still implies that they have a very powerful base somewhere else. What would they be using this for though? Well, honestly, I think it's a pretty simple answer, and an answer that we can see all around in the world of Splatoon. But the simple answer that I'm referring to is evacuation, exodus from Earth. Earth is pretty damaged. Areas that should be home to large, lush grass areas are deserts. The tides can rise for who even knows how long and how much higher than they do in real life, and they tend to stay that way for an undetermined amount of time. At least long enough for large-scale wars to take place over quickly shrinking land. The Inklings know that there was a species on Earth before them that left the planet the way it is now. Despite how Inkling culture is supposed to be lazy and carefree, I don't think that's the case with all of them. They can't all be lazy if they've created massive cities like Splatsville and Inkopolis. And yes, you can say that the Inklings probably aren't fully responsible for it because of jellyfish and other species, but does it really matter with how intertwined that jellyfish and Inklings are? And even if jellyfish were the massive contributors, they didn't mind letting the Inklings make a massive space monument in their symbol rather than the jellies. There's no way to know just how damaged the Earth fully is because we've only seen one location of it so far, and like one trailer of somewhere else, but from what we know, it's pretty extreme. Extreme enough to make the incredibly technologically advanced Inklings go to the moon and do some pretty extreme space colonization. But that's just about where the theory comes to a conclusion. So, to conclude, the extremely technologically advanced Inklings have sent a large group of themselves to leave Earth to prepare for when the Earth faces its end. The Inklings have thrived so well on the moon to the point where they've built either a massive monument or base in the shape of their people inside of the Sea of Fertility on the moon that spans around 88.6 miles horizontally. So the people back on Earth can look up at them and awe, and they succeeded at it. So outside of the theory, how likely is it that we actually get to play a Splatoon game set in space? I honestly think it's guaranteed. With how much space has been foreshadowed and how much sense it would make sense in the context of the lore, and how much the developers have had it on their mind since they started making Splatoon, I think it's gonna happen at some point, but I wouldn't hold your breath on it. At absolute earliest, we'd get it in a Splatoon 4, which probably won't even end up being called Splatoon 4, but that doesn't really matter right now. I can't see space being a focal point of a DLC story in Splatoon 3 since they're already introducing Splatsville as the new big location, and if I were Nintendo, I'd want to show off the rest of their post-apocalyptic world before sending us into outer space. So it'll probably some time before we ever see space in the Splatoon world. But just know that Inklings are out there on the moon looking back at us while we fight our turf wars and host our Splatfests. There's a strong Inkling empire on the moon that one day we might just go and get to explore. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is the longest I've ever spent making a theory like this, but I think it is definitely worth it to show what could be out there off of Earth in the Splatoon world. And next time you play a match in Splatoon, look around for a sign of how advanced Inklings are. I'm sure it won't take that long to find. But wait, did you know that 75.1% of viewers who watch this channel aren't actually subscribed? I know. That is just, it's way too much. But for all of my unsubscribed viewers, I have an offer for you today. If you subscribe today, and only today, no other days will work, you can receive your very own Galactic Sandwich. Yep, I know, for the first time, this actually fits the theme of the video. So if you've ever wanted to crunch down on those nice, I think they're chips, and we got some marshmallows in there too, then you know what? Today is your day, so go ahead and click that subscribe button today, and you have a chance to get your very own Galactic Sandwich. Yep, the odds are low, but never impossible. Alright gamers, that is it from me. I will see everyone later. See ya.